Welcome, Kyalians, to yet another episode from Kyle Gaming. I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. It's the first DC game that we actually take a really in-depth look at. And if you know anything about me, if you've seen any of my other episodes, I am a huge DC fan. If you want to know some of the credentials I've got, I have absolutely none. But I have read all the Superman stuff, loved all the Batman stuff, watched as many movies and that have come out, including all the animated ones, and loved the CW shows that were out. The Flash being my favourite one, that really actually got me into the Flash as a character. But enough about that, that's not what we're here about today. So what we're going to be doing today is reviewing Gotham Knights. I know it's been out for a while, but I think it's about time that I've actually step in and give my ideas and opinions on what this game was like. If I'm honest, I was a bit hesitant to play this game. I thought it was meant to be a sequel from the Arkham series when it first came out. Turned out that it wasn't, and it's its own thing. And that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was meant to be the sequel, or at least set in the same universe as the Arkham series. So I had no idea what they were going to do with this one and where they were going to go. I mean, I had some idea, but I was really... Anyway, I'm not going to get into it now because that's not what we're doing. We're going to go through the 4 criteria that I think make up really important things for a game, and we'll go from there. So let's get into it, guys. Alright, so the first criteria that we're going to have a look at is gameplay. Now, that's hugely important for any game that you play, because if you don't like how it's going, you're not going to want to keep playing it. Pretty simple, right? So, if I'm honest, to begin with, I didn't like the gameplay in this game. I felt like the attacking and everything was very slow and clunky, and that there wasn't much variety to it. You were just seeming to spam that square button just to do some attacks and stuff like that. It took me a while to realize that, obviously, you're tapping it to get some combos going, you can hold it to do bigger attacks and all that sort of stuff, which actually worked out really well. So in the end, it grew me enough that I actually liked the combat, and when I was playing it, I ended up finding that I was holding square and doing stuff naturally just to do the attacks that I wanted to do, and it worked out really well. I actually really enjoyed it. A thing that bumped me about this was the traversing in the game. So you could run around and stuff on the streets, and that was fine, that was good. You used your grappling hook to go through over the buildings and everything like that, just like in the Arkham series, which I thought was fine. That worked out really well. You could launch yourself over and continue on, and it wasn't that fast. But then you could actually use the bat bike. That was good, but what bumped me was as soon as you jumped onto the bike, you didn't really have any speed. You'd go, and then you'd just sort of be at the one speed. There was no boost button to make you go faster or do anything like that. You were literally just sort of cruising at one speed. And if I'm honest, that was a little bit boring. There wasn't much to it other than just you'd jump on your bike and you'd go. I'd still use it to get to places, but it just wasn't enough for me, if I'm honest with you. There is a device that you can use in this that lets you fly over everything. I just didn't use that. I didn't unlock that. I just kept going through with what I had. I just didn't want to do the side missions. I was really focused on the main mission for it. The other thing that we needed to have a look at, if I remember rightly, was that it was hard to move the character sometimes. It'd get stuck looking one way and you're trying to move it to look another way, but then it would get caught on something and then move it around, and then you'd be trying to dodge and get out of the way, but it didn't feel like you could really do that well. And there was no lock-on button. Normally you have in these games, you'd have something where it'll lock onto the character, the enemy that you're wanting to fight, so you could watch that character. This didn't have that at all. You were too busy trying to maneuver around and, I guess, look at it yourself, which is kind of annoying. I mean, people might like that, and that's fine, but I like to lock onto the other enemies as well, to see where they are, but it didn't have that. Wasn't a massive bump, but, you know, it wasn't really what I was hoping was going to happen, considering most games these days do have that lock-on feature. So I gave this game a score out of 7.5 out of 10. The next criteria we're going to be reviewing is gameplay. Hugely important to any game that you play. I'm not telling you something you don't already know, just reiterating how important it is. I am going to preface this with the fact that I am going to be having some spoilers here, so if you don't want to know how this game ends and you're looking at playing it, now is the time to look away. Alright, you were warned. So, at the end of this game, you end up finding Bruce. He does die early on in the game, but then they use a Lazarus Pit to bring him back. Not the Bat family, but Talia al Ghul, so you can head and lead the League of Assassins. very obvious, I think, once the Lazarus Pit starts getting mentioned that was going to happen. And it annoyed me that they brought him back just to kill him again. So you do fight him, and then he dies. I mean, either have him come back and he stays, and then that makes sense with the whole comic book thing, you know, people don't stay dead, or have him dead the entire time. We didn't actually need him to come back. It would have been cool if he had to come back and then he had to stay and you could have used him as a playable character after you finish the main campaign. I thought that would have been a cool idea, but, you know, one or the other. He's either dead or he isn't. Don't bring him back for 5 minutes just to kill him off again. Didn't make sense to me that they did that. The other thing is that they used the Court of Owls and the League of Assassins as the big bad for the whole storyline. And it's been done to death. It'd be like using Brainiac for any Superman game, which, funny enough, that's what they're doing in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's just been done to death. I would have liked to have seen something new and given us a new reason for why Batman had died. I was fine with Ra's al Ghul being the one that was there and what happened to help kill Batman, but just the fact that it was the Court of Owls and the League of Assassins again, it's kind of like, well, do we have any other ideas that we could have used to have something kill him? We could have had Ezekiel for a start, like, you know, the guy in the Arkham series that wants to take over as Batman. Could have been that he wanted to get rid of Batman so he could take over and the Bat family was investigating that. That would have been cool. Once you got to the graveyard at the end of this, you knew that you were going to be fighting Bruce and that he was going to be coming back, but it kind of annoyed me that he died. Like, either have him or don't. So that was a huge issue with the story for me. So I rated this a 7 out of 10. The next criteria we're going to have a look at is engagement. Now, I think that's a sum of the story and the gameplay put together. So in that vein, I did want to keep playing this, and it did keep me engaged to try and find out what happened with the story. Now, I know I said that the Court of Owls and the League of Assassins is a storyline that's been done to death, and it is, but I still wanted to see what these guys did with that iteration of it. Everything's different, and everyone has different spins on things, and this was no different to that. They had them fight each other, which I don't think I've really seen happen before. They normally stage out of each other's way, but this time they actually clashed over Gotham, and I thought that was pretty cool. Considering Bruce was out of the way, everyone decided it was fair game for themselves, so that was a cool part to it as well. The other thing that I really liked was that the other heroes from around the world would actually email the Bat family and offer their condolences and little bits and pieces to all of them. So I saw that Clark Kent emailed all of them and said something individual, so it wasn't like a generic thing to them all. He individually emailed every single one of the Bat family and, you know, said sorry about the loss of Bruce and how much Bruce was meant to him. You had Wonder Woman, you had the Teen Titans, you had all that sort of stuff. So that kept me wanting to come back and play and go along further along just to see who kept emailing. Really cool, and you really got you immersed into that universe to make sure that obviously you kept coming back, you kept doing more things, and you kept wanting to play. The other thing that was there was going on patrol in Gotham was awesome. So you'd go out each night and you would be going and stopping all these different crimes. There'd be different things all over the shop that you could do. Some were easier, some were not, some were quick, some weren't. But you actually got ranked and they gave you a summary at the end of it every time you went back to the Belfry on how you went. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. It made you want to keep playing, and then the more things you did, obviously the more things you could unlock. And that was another part of this game that I really liked. What kept me engaged was the customization. So as you can see here with Batgirl, I was in a different suit. You could upgrade your suits, and then they'd have different things that you could add on to it, and transmorg all your different suits and stuff as well to have something you really liked. Some of them I didn't, but that's what happens with customization. You don't have to keep everything that you have, but I really liked it. The customization was really on point for me for that one. So for this one, I gave it an 8 out of 10. So the last criteria we have to have a look at is the environment, and hats off to all the designers for this one. Having Gotham designed the way it is with all the neon stuff, as you can see here, with all the smog and it was glowing and doing all that sort of stuff, that's exactly what I feel like Gotham would be like. You have your gargoyles that you can see there that you can perch on top of. It was insane the amount of detail that they had in that, right down to the fact that the Wayne Tower that you can see in the background there had lights that shot straight up. Wow. You know, giving a little hint that Bruce Wayne was Batman there. I still think that was awesome. It's a cool little tidbit that they did there. The other thing that I really liked was that all the different districts felt different. I remember going to the Cauldron and having a look around and going, holy hell, this is completely different to where I was just going through. It felt different. You could hear the music pumping from the Iceberg Lounge when you come near there, not when you were like right next to it. If you were a couple of buildings away, you could still hear it like you would in nighttime. That was insane to me. The level of detail that they put into that was so good. The other thing that I really loved was that you could use the environment to hurt your enemies. So if there was barrels laying around that were explosive, that it could freeze them, shock them, and do all that sort of stuff. As you can see here, that people were throwing projectiles at you. If you had an enemy within that range, it would hit them and hurt them as well. So if you were smart or if you were lucky or whatever it is, you could use that to your advantage and hurt them. You could make things drop off the walls to actually turn around and get your enemies to walk out, so you could attack them in stealthily. You had the option to just go in and attack or do stealth stuff. I just go and attack, it's just who I am. The other thing was that all around the Gotham City was things that you could scan that would give you a little bit of a history on things. So every area you went to had something purple that would show up when you AR'd it, and you could have a look and read some of that stuff. It was really cool to have a look at that. So I was super impressed with the environment, so I gave it my second ever 10 out of 10.
Way to make me feel welcome.
So if you've seen any of my other review videos, you know that I'll recap the ratings that I gave each criteria. So here we go with that one. So for the first one, gameplay, we gave it a 7.5. For story, we gave it a 7. For engagement, we gave it an 8 out of 10. And for environment, it was a 10 out of 10. So the overall score that I gave this game was a 7.5 out of 10. I was genuinely surprised that I actually ended up enjoying this game. I honestly figured that after the Arkham series, I probably wouldn't be. I tried to push the Arkham series out of my head. This is a whole different game to what that was. And I really feel like it stood up in its own right and demanded that you like this game for what it was. I would recommend people to play it if you are a DC fan and if you are a Batman fan. It is satisfying to play it, to be honest with you. I did like it, and the patrolling Gotham thing was what really hooked me in. I felt that that was a really cool thing to have into the game, that you could just patrol Gotham as well and stop crimes, and you actually got points and rewarded for doing that. The things that I did want to mention that I thought would have been cool to have seen in the game was having the rest of the Bat family out and about while you were out. So if you were Nightwing, you could see Red Hood and Robin and Batgirl in different parts of the city. You didn't have to see them all the time and that often, but just every now and then, you'd go past something, they were sitting on a roof, or you could see them running across something or something like that. They didn't have to be fighting anyone, just something like that. I thought that would have been a cool little insert into the game. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to the game in the end, but I just thought it'd be pretty cool. The other thing I really was thinking about as well was the Joker. So I finished the main campaign and there was no mention of the Joker at all. There was Harley Quinn in there, but that was about it. So I would have loved to have seen what the Joker would have done now that Batman was dead. Would he have caused a bit of chaos to try and draw Batman out to make sure that it was true that he was gone? How would he have handled that? I feel like that could be a really cool element to that story. A DLC version of that would be cool. He heard that he was dead, come back to Gotham, caused all kinds of chaos. Even just an explanation that maybe he died or he was wailed. There was some reason that he wasn't there. Jim Gordon dying in this one kind of took me by surprise. It was cool that we had our own issues with GCPD to deal with, and that we didn't just have Gordon to rely on. So I didn't mind that he died. I just wish we had found out exactly what had happened. I'm not entirely sure what went on there. So all in all, guys, I would definitely recommend you to play this game. If you're into DC and all that sort of stuff, it's a great addition to the universe that we were in, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how other games progress. So I'm looking forward to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, because that's meant to be in the same universe as the Arkham series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the games that are going to come out that are to do with the DCU and intertwine with that whole universe as well. So there's some exciting stuff on the way, and I cannot wait for the DCU to kick off, and we can get into that when it does. But that's going to be a video for another time. Alright guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Before I forget, let's jump straight into this. And now for those housekeeping matters. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All those links can be found in my bio. And at the bottom of the screen is my website. Go and check that out. There's a few different bits and pieces on there that I think you'd really enjoy, so make sure you head over and have a look. And that's everything that we've got time for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining me for episode 2, and I will see you next month for episode 3.
PlayStation